Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts,
Arch-Lector George,
and Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
We begin our coverage of The Heroes, Joe's second standalone and the next First Law entry. We cover the Times, The Peacemaker, and The Best of Us. So let's get started.
Oh, it's good to be back, isn't it, fellas?
Yes. We always take a little break between each book. We do some guest spots. We take a week off.
Yeah.
But again, it's appropriate now. The Adeptus Historical has reproduced, and I have an offspring now. So that did also take up some time. So I'm totally out of the game. I don't know what I'm doing.
Wasn't Madison going into labor when we were recording that last episode as well?
Yes, she was. Yes.
He's out there recording in the waiting room. Actually, he's in the operating room. We can see him in the background.
I'll be there in a second.
I have more important things, woman.
And he goes, okay, so for a community interaction segment, and we hear Madison, Harrison, get the fuck in here.
But anyways, that's lovely. So we are happy to be back and starting the Heroes. It's crazy that we're already at the Heroes, but I suppose it's already been 2 years?
Yeah, just about 2 years. Yep.
That's crazy. So
yep, and so we have to thank you, the people, for your support, your continued devotion. We are actually going to have to come in and call in and collect some of that goodwill a little bit later. But we're going to remind you to follow us on the social medias and our YouTube pages. That'd be great. George, we keep saying this. We have to fucking finish up the YouTube page.
Man,
God.
I think we've gone ahead of our progress already. Like, it was about 2 months ago when we did about 10 episodes, 20 episodes. And yeah. I think we've done that many episodes since, so we're just as far behind as we used to be.
Yeah, lovely, isn't it? Lovely. We'll get it together.
We'd appreciate some motivation on that score, because if you do use the YouTube to listen to this, you're probably not going to hear this anyway, so this doesn't make much sense. But if you do use the YouTube often, just let us know so that I can look at that email every now and again and go, right, I need to do some more episodes.
Yeah. Send us an email at circletheworldpodcast@gmail.com and, curse at us, yell at us. Send us Instagram comments or messages, and same thing for the Twitters. Go ahead. So, thank you all again. Appreciate it. As you know, this is a free podcast, so you are not expected to pay us anything at all. We never ask for your money. So your support is free and unconditional, right? Well, our love for you is conditional, but still. Anyway, so we'll go ahead with our first chapter read-through, and we start off with The Times. And before I start off with The Times, I want to note that The Heroes is the first Joe Abercrombie book in the First Law series with a legit map. And more than one. Look at that. We get that. We get a whole list of the savory characters we encounter. I think he's setting this up to be something special, isn't he, boys?
Yeah, he definitely has this. The whole book. This isn't a spoiler at all. It takes place around one central point, one battle, and he definitely makes it feel like it's like an event. Like he's got here's the map, here's the setup, here's everything laid out for you. Which is different than how he normally is. Normally, he's like, fuck you guys, just listen to the story.
Very true. Yeah, the way he structures it, it's just, a great work of art, I think. I love it. It's fantastic. And so we start off with the perspective of a newcomer, a new character that we've never met or heard of before, if I'm not mistaken. His name is Kerndon Craw. And we start off with a very lethal weapon line. He starts off by saying, I'm too old for this shit. Although, George, do it in the accent, because I can't do it.
What accent?
Kerndon
Craw's accent.
Yeah, British accent, whatever.
Fuck off. Not all just the same accent. I can't even remember what his accent is right now.
Too old for this shit.
Too old for this shit, innit?
Too old for this shit. Anyway, so we don't know if he's Irish, Scottish,
I think he's got a generally northern accent. A lot of the Northmen do.
He's got a Birmingham accent.
Or Yorkshire. So yeah, so apparently the reason he's too old for this shit, he is climbing this tall hill. And this hill is called the Heroes. So the reason it's called the Heroes is that there are stone slabs at the top of this hill, very similar to Stonehenge, right? We would say.
Yes. They're kind of
Except
we've
bigger
actually
and more
seen.
impressive.
Yeah, interestingly, we've actually seen another hill in the series with stones on it, just not quite as tall. It was before they hanged inside of the old Empire, which is very interesting. But anyways, that's the side note. Maybe they're connected, maybe they're not. That's not even addressed in the book, so don't get your hopes up.
That's for a future theory video, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And as Currendon is struggling up this hill, he's thinking about how he should be retired. It's way past time. The man should be collecting his pension. He should be signing up for AARP. And he should be sitting on his porch smoking a pipe, having done some honest to God some whatever housework, because apparently he wants to be a carpenter or a contractor or something. So he gets to the top of the hill. He's not doing too well, coughing and fit and everything, but he's able to stifle it just enough. And so then he walks through the stones because he sees some firelight. He sees a faint glow. He goes, "Okay, here we go." And so he thinks back to what Three Trees had told him once, which is that fear is a healthy thing as long as it makes you think. And it's the best he could hope for at this point. And so he walks through, and he can see that there are 8 men in the middle of the clearing, inside of these stones, the heroes. 8 men. They're wrapped, they're all huddled around the campfire. So he, raises his hands up to show he's got no weapons, and he goes, "Hey guys, nice evening." And they all go like, "What the fuck is this?" And the guys, the men, they to their weapons, and then one guy goes, "Hold on there, Red Crow," and that's the one that had picked up a bow and was about to knock an arrow. Who spoke was a big old lad, gray beard, drawn sword, and Crawl started smiling because he knew that face, and his chances were looking better at this point. His name, this guy, is Hardbread, a named man from way back then. And, plenty of times that Crawl was on the same side as him during battles or wars, and plenty of times that they were on opposite sides. So it looks like that Hardbread is the chief of this group of men here. And so then Hardbread goes, well. If I'm not mistaken, Currendon Crawl just wandered out of the night. Crawl was like, "Yeah, you're not mistaken, man. It's me." And then so they kind of like talk to each other, like, "Hey, you're looking a little older." He goes, "Yeah, so are you, man."
Yeah, the old man stuff is like if you ever go to like an old cafe here in the U.S. at least, you'll always see some old guys sitting across from each other, and they're always like, "Well, how was church for you the other day?" "Well, it's the same old, same old." Yeah, it's like this is old man talk. That's all it is.
Gotta love it.
How's your knee doing? I still can't move it.
Yeah, and here we get some clarity as to what's going on here. Hardbread goes, "I heard that you're fighting for Black Down, you and your dozen these days." He goes, "Yep, Dow, he pays for my porridge. He pays my salary." And Hardbread goes, "Man, I love porridge."
Which I've heard no one ever say. So other than Glock, wait a minute. Does Joe Abercrombie love porridge?
Yeah, you might have a thing for porridge. Who does? I mean, I like porridge. I love a good stew. I love a good soup.
Porridge isn't.
It is. It's a milk soup, isn't it?
I know it is, but like, there's a big difference between a good soup and porridge. Okay.
Hey, but don't bash porridge. Porridge is good.
Even the word porridge is unpleasant. You both know it.
I bet you've just never had it cooked right.
That's probably true.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like
there's nothing worse than eating bad porridge, man.
Oh no. Well, Hardbread loves it, and then he also says that the union pays for his porridge. So now we see that, okay, opposite sides, seems like there's a battle between Black Dow and the Union. And so then Kernan Crawl goes, "Well, are we gonna let a little thing like being on opposite sides, ruin some polite conversation?" And Red Crow, out of nowhere, the kid, he goes, "Man, let's just kill this fucker." And then Hardbread, like, he turns his head slowly at him and he goes, "If the impossible happens, and I feel the need for your contribution, I'll tell you what it is. Until then, shut it." And then he's smart enough to know that a man of Curtin and Crawl's experience doesn't just wander up here to get killed by someone like you. So he asked Curtin, he's like, "Why'd you come up here? Do you get tired of fighting for a Dow and you want to come over and join the Dogman?" Crawl's like, "Nope. We all got our reasons, and fighting for the Union isn't really my style. No disrespect." That kind of stuff. He goes, "The thing is that Black Dow had asked me to come on down to the Heroes, keep a watch for a while and see if the Union are coming up this way. But maybe you can spare me the work. Are the Union coming up this way?" And then Harper goes, "I don't know." And Crawl goes, "Oh, but you're here though." And Harper goes, "I wouldn't pay much mind to that. As you could see, they kind of just sent me out on my own. The Dogman asked me to come up to the Heroes, keep a watch for a while and see if Black Dow or any of his people showed up. You think they
I like
will?"
the implication that Hardbread has whenever he's like, "Yeah, pretty much by myself," and he looks at he's got a whole bunch of like young guys. And they're all like all nervous and stuff. Like they're clearly not. They're not warriors. Not really.
Yeah, they're not. They're not.
I find it interesting that you can be a named man but not be like really experienced.
Who's not really experienced?
Well, you sort of like Red Crow. Red Crow's like his nephew or something, isn't he?
No,
And is this somebody else? This
somebody
is
else.
nephew.
Somebody else.
Which is just like this young guy, and he's
Well, I
like
mean,
really fiery.
they all have weird names.
But
Being a
it's
name,
like, wouldn't you go from like you start out as a thrall and then you become a car and then you become.
So getting your name is completely irrelevant to your combat experience. Actually, Shivers got his name from
Shiver be timbers in the river.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Red Crow is like a named man, but that's his name, so that's for sure. As you can see, we'll come into other people that have names that are a little bit odd, but they're not necessarily named men. Anyway, so Hardbread is asking him, he's like, "Do you think Black Dow are going to show up?" And then Crawl goes, "I don't know." And he goes, "You're here though." So it's kind of like they're just kind of going back and forth with the same little interaction. And so then Crawl goes, "Yeah, I wouldn't pay any mind to that. It's just me and my dozen, except for Bridian Flood, which I don't know why that name is familiar to me. But apparently he had broke his leg a few months ago, so he had to leave him behind." And Harburg goes, "Oh boy, yeah, I know yours was always a tight crew, so I guess they're probably actually around here somewhere with their weapons ready." And then we hear a woman's voice come out of nowhere and say something like that, and we meet Wonderful. Her name is Wonderful for sure. She's just chilling, leaned up across, one of the heroes. She goes, "Hey, hard bread." And then he goes, "Couldn't you even at least knock an arrow to like pretend like you take us seriously?" And she goes, "Well, does it make it feel better if I tell you that, we have a few boys out in the darkness ready to put a shaft in your face?" And he goes, "Yes and no." So we get, the info that Wonderful is second to Kerndon Crawl. She's been his second for quite some time. So look at that. Egalitarianism, equal rights and all that. Love that. And I like how Wonderful goes like, "Yeah, we're just like an old married couple who haven't fucked." We just argued. So he goes, "All right. Well," he thought that Crawl would have company from the first moment he saw him, but Hardbread reckons that since they're still talking and he's still breathing, that they're set on giving them a chance to talk this out. And Crawl goes, "Exactamundo, my good sir. That's exactly the plan." So Hardbread asks about his sentries, his guardsmen, and so apparently this guy Scory Tiptoe comes out from behind one of the stones. He's one of Kerndon Crawl's, and he has this guy with a big pink birthmark on his cheek, and he has a knife to his throat. And he goes, "Sorry, Chief, caught me off guard." And it's like, it happens. And then from the other side, a skinny little guy comes stumbling into the clearing like he just got pushed. And this big guy named Jolly Yon came from behind him with an axe in his foot in one hand and stuff. And Heartbreak goes, "Oh, thank the dead for that, because this one's my sister's son, and I promise I keep an eye out. If he'd been killed, I'd never hear the end of it." And then Jan goes, "Yeah, he was asleep. He wasn't being too careful, was he?"
I love that Heartbreak's like so chill. He's like, "Oh, like you guys aren't even taking me seriously. That's not a good sign." Well, oh, good. My nephew isn't dead. Oh, okay. At least at least we're not already dead. Obviously, I'm the only true warrior here. Okay. This is cool. It's actually pretty smart. If he's staying super calm, it shows his experience and making sure that, at this point, all his boys would be totally slaughtered. So there's
Yeah.
no point in trying to even like bother. It wouldn't do any good for them to try to fight now. So he already knows it. So he's just trying to be diplomatic about it, which is smart.
Yep, for sure. And he's a little funny. He goes, "Man, if there's a couple things that we got way too much of in the north, it's hills and rocks. And I didn't reckon a hill with rocks on it would be, a big attraction." And Carl goes, "It's not, but when Black Dow says a thing, no, he said when Black Dow says to come here, and then we have somebody that comes on in to add. He goes, and when Black Dow says a thing, apparently this is a hillman named Brack Edane.
Brackydane.
He's a hillman.
He's a hillman. Very similar to our boy Chromiki Fail. Tattooed face and all that shit." and Heartbreak goes, "Jesus, just more of you popping up out of nowhere." And then he goes, "You got wearing of bleh with you?"
Oh, it's your favorite character, Jeff.
Yeah, I love this guy so much. Actually, I do really like him, but the fandom is another thing.
It's
Anyway,
decided, yeah. We're not bringing that up. We're not bringing that up today. We've got enough to cover.
Oh yeah, we got enough. And then Carl goes, "Yeah, I don't know why, but this guy insists on following me around." And then out of nowhere, wherein he just hears his voice echo in the darkness. He goes, "Shoglig said, I will be shown my destiny by a man choking on a bone. And Shoglig is old as these stones. Hell won't take her, some say. Blade won't cut her. Saw the world born, some say, and we'll see it die. That's a woman a man has to listen to, ain't it? Or so some say."
Whoa.
Wow, it's so deep, bro.
And then Warren actually he walks through a gap of one of the heroes, the missing heroes, and he's a tall, lean man. His face is in shadow with the hood drawn up. He had the father of swords across his shoulders, still sheathed, and he's slinging his arms like you would have your arms over like you're carrying like a yoke. And he goes, "Shoglig told me the time and the place and the manner of my death. She whispered it and made me swear to keep it secret, for magic shared is no magic at all. So I cannot tell you where it'll be or when, but it's not here and it is not now. You boys, on the other hand, Shoglig didn't say when you'd be going." And that was enough. And then, all of Kerndon Craw's crew roll their eyes because they've heard this plenty of times. But Hardred's crew has not heard it ever. And so they go, "Oh, that Weirin? Cracknut Weirin? That one?"
Weirin is like one step away from being a Dr. Seuss character.
That's a hell of an intimidation tactic, though, isn't it? With all these people, they believe in all these prophecies, and it's like, well, you can't kill me because I'm destined to die somewhere else. And it's like, shit, that's some real stuff there. Fucking hell, I don't want to die.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting too because we've seen like intimidation tactics by these Northmen before too, where like with Logan, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, well, why don't I just fucking cut off your legs?" And shit like that. Whereas Logan is like, "I'm gonna try to intimidate you." Weirin is not even trying to intimidate; he's just talking. This is his normal manner of speaking.
I imagine Weirin trying to like talk like this to the Bloody Nine, and the Bloody Nine just snapping his neck.
He'd be like, "Do it. You want to test that theory?"
Let's see. And so then Heartbreak goes, "Well, fuck me if I'm gonna be fighting my way out of this. Any chance you let us get out of here?" And Crawl goes, "Yeah, I'd actually insist on this. And can we take our gear?" And Crawl goes, "I don't want to embarrass you. I just want your hill." I was like, great. So Heartbreak goes, you're welcome to it. And he goes, it's windy as shit up here anyway. I'd rather be down there with near a fire. And Heartbreak goes, this is very decent of you, Crawl. You're a straight edge, just like they say. Nice that men on different sides can still talk things through in the midst of all this. Decent behavior. It's out of fashion. And Crawl goes,
Those are the times.
Yep. And so we see that Crawl is a straight edge, maybe cut from the same kind of cloth as Three Trees, right? He referenced him, so we know that he must have followed him at some point,
Yep.
So yeah,
it's interesting. Crawl has all these little sayings that I always like, that he mentions all the time. Talking about how, well, this thing is the way this is, but maybe that's actually because that's just how people are, or maybe am I getting tired, or is that just time? I like how he always is have these little, I don't know what the term would be, but these little quotes where he's trying to reason something and he just ends up accepting it. Aphorisms, yeah. He ends up accepting it as just like, that's just part of life, I guess. Instead of being he doesn't really think beyond that. He's just like, man, this is kind of weird. Must be part of life.
Yeah.
He's not wrong. It's just interesting.
It's an interesting attitude, isn't it? Like you say, it's oh, this sucks, but we're gonna get on with it anyway. What's the point of complaining?
No, for sure. And there are some people that don't appreciate it. Like in this case, Red Crow. See, Currendon and Crawl and his crew are watching them collect their gear and everything. And Red Crow, he's standing there with a mean look on his face and everything. And he goes, man, fuck this. A few old people and some woman, we're backing down to the likes of these without a fight. And Heartbreak goes, no. I'm backing down. And these fellas here are. You're gonna stay, and you'll fight Wirren of Bleh on your own. And Red Crow goes, what? And he looks at Wirren, and Wirren just looks back, but you can't even see him. You can't see his face because it's all in shadow because of the hood. And then Harbor goes, yep, since you want to fight, and then I'm gonna carry your hacked up corpse back to your mom and tell her not to worry because this is the way you wanted it. You wanted to die for this hill. You loved it so fucking much. And then Red Crow goes, eh? and then Hardbread goes, or maybe you'd rather come down with the rest of us, blessing the name of Currendon Crawl for giving us a fair warning and letting us go without any arrows in our asses. And Red Crow goes, yeah. And he turns around. And then Harbor goes, young ones, ugh, were we ever so dumb? Crawl's like, yeah, more than likely. And then, it's that kind of thing where, older men, older people are like, I can't say I felt the need for blood like they seem to nowadays. It's like, yeah,
that's
maybe,
a lie.
Yeah, but
that's
most likely they did. Yeah, probably. And then he goes, all right, well, they'll leave them to fire. And Hardbread and his crew left. And then they were leaving, and then Heartbread's nephew turns around and he gave Crawl the fuck yourself finger, and he goes, "We'll be back here, you snaking bastards." And then Heartbread cuffs him, like hoopy smacks him across the head, and he goes, "It's like some respect." And then the nephew's like, "But aren't we fighting a war?" And he cuffs him again. He goes, "No reason to be rude, you little shit."
I love that. That's so ridiculous.
And then I think he's cuffing him all the way down that hill. You hear him going, whatever. Yeah, and so then Jolly Yon comes up to him because Craw is like pretty happy this worked out, but Jolly Yon's like, maybe we might regret not killing them, at this point. And Craw goes, look, not killing doesn't weigh as heavy on my conscience as actually killing them. Somebody gonna say something?
Yeah, but he's like, a warrior isn't supposed to have a conscience, which it's not necessarily wrong. I mean, he's got a point.
Yeah,
it's probably more of a hindrance. But that's always the argument is like, is a warrior supposed to be cold-hearted so he can be more efficient, or isn't he supposed to be more than that because we're human? So
yeah, yeah, and whatchamacallit, Bracky Dane was the one that came in and chimed in with you shouldn't carry too much of a conscience. And then Wirren chimes in. He goes, can't carry too much belly. You shouldn't carry too much belly either. So he's fat shaming Bracky Dan. Not cool.
Not cool, Wirren. Just another mark against his record.
Tisk, tisk, tisk. And, you know, uh, some guy comes in, another new character. His name is Agric. He had a bow in his hand. I guess he's one of the scouts or not spies. Well, like, yeah, I would guess like a scout for Kermit
Light
Crawl.
infantry, you could say.
Yeah. So Craw, I guess, had him positioned outside of the heroes to keep an eye out to see if Hardbread's boys actually left or were doubling back. But they, they're going down. They went past something called the Children, which, I mean, maybe that's another hill or something.
It's another.
Craw,
It's another set of standing stones, isn't it?
Yes, they're just smaller and they're on a smaller hill. So
yeah, I'm just pretending not to know because we haven't got there yet.
Okay, well, there's a map in the front of the book. So
you know what? You're right. You're right. Cut my part out. Cut my part out.
no, I'm not cutting it. I'm not cutting any of it out. I'm just...
He's pulling a Jeff. He's
you're
pulling
supposed
a
to do
me.
it, Jeff. You're supposed to do it right. You're supposed to be like, "Hey, George, I need you to cut that out." Yeah.
Cut that out, Jeff. Cut that out. And so they're heading towards Osrung, which is a settlement, a town. And Athric is keeping a watch on them, though, so we'll know for sure if they double back. That's what he says. And then Wonderful goes, do you think they will? Because Hardbread's cut from the old cloth. He might smile, but he wouldn't like this at all. And he goes, yeah, but I mean, what are you gonna do? So just to be safe, best post guards. And Bracker's like, yeah, and make sure ours stay awake. So Crawl's like, yeah, good of you to volunteer. and then Jan goes, haha, your belly can keep you company. And then Crawl goes, hey, I'm happy to hear that you're in favor of this too, so you're second. He goes, fuck. And then Crawl goes, he yells out the name Droft. Drofd. Droft. That's what I'm pronouncing it as.
He's
Yeah, but if you say it with an accent,
dropped.
And apparently he's the newest of the crew because he hurried up. He's like, "Oh, hey, Chief," and then Crawl goes, "Take the saddle horse and go back up the Yaws Road. Not sure who you meet first, either Ironhead or Ten Ways. Let him know that we ran into one of the Dogman's dozens at the Heroes. So we have confirmation that Harbread is a dozen for the Dogman, not just the Union. And most likely just scouting, but
I just
you never know.
want to point something interesting out. When it says saddle horse, it's interesting that obviously you can't have everyone on a horse, so you have your pack animals. You've got 3 horses with your packs on, and then you have 1 for emergencies. And that's actually a real thing that they used to do, so that they distribute the horses around the army a bit better, rather than just having loads of people on the horses.
Yeah, especially with the an army with you said not a lot of horses and a lot of foot soldiers, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. So just scouting. Yeah, I mean, wonderful things that the Union are miles away, split up and spread out, and they're confused in a country with no straight lines. Yeah, but just in case, hop on the horse and pass the message anyway. And Droft is like, now in the dark. And Wonderful's like, yes, motherfucker, now. All you gotta do is follow a road. And then,
yeah, but it's scary.
Yeah, exactly. It's scary out there. And so, Crawl goes like, look, all war work is heroes work. And so Droft goes, right, you are, Chief. See you in a few days, I reckon, and with the sore ass, no doubt. And then Wonderful goes, why? Is 10 Ways a special friend of yours?
Classic.
And Droft is like, ha, ha, ha. And he goes off into the night to find the horse. And then Wonderful goes, I hear chicken fat can ease the passage. It's like, should get some of that P. Diddy baby oil. And then
what else are they supposed to use? Well, I guess they could use P. Diddy baby oil. Good point, Jeff. I didn't think about that.
If only they had a Costco. Anyway, so they all they're all chilling out around the fire. Scory is sharpening his knife and singing a song of Scarling Hoodless, greatest hero of the North, who brought the clans together long ago to drive the Union out. And then Wirren sits down and he's like, I'm going to do a reading. And he goes, do you have to? So I guess the reading is he tosses some runes on the ground to see what they say. And so they go, okay, what do they say? And Warren goes, they say it's going to be blood.
Oh wow, incredible.
Yeah, great. Great. And then, Wonderful's like they always say that. And Warren's like, yeah, but lately they're right more often than not. And Krog is like, yeah, those are the times. And that's the end of that chapter.
That's his
Boy,
catchphrase, isn't it? We're going to be hearing that a lot in this book.
yeah,
Oh, a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of them, but yeah, for sure. Boys, how do you rate that chapter?
I think it's really funny. I think it's great that all the other books start off dead serious, don't they? And then this one just starts with funny interactions between these two groups of Northmen, kicking off the whole conflict, telling us what's going on. I think it's very well done. I'm going to give it just a 6, just because it's quite short and not a lot happens, but it's good apart from that.
Yeah.
How about you guys?
I think I rate it a 5. I think it's probably, in terms of like openings, it's definitely like one of the most calm ones out of all of them. And it has like the least. It's the most just like kind of like he could have started somewhere else. Not that that's like bad or something, but it is a fun interaction. We get to introduce a lot of characters, and I will say the first time I read this, I was like, "There's a lot of characters already. I'm having a hard time." As like first thing off. So, but very very fun chapter, like you said. So
I'm gonna go ahead and give it I'm gonna give it a 6. I really enjoyed it. It was like George was saying, it's it's a funny introduction. It's good. There is definitely a lot of levity here, which is a nice turn coming from, let's say, all the books in the first trilogy, and the Best Served Cold, and I think it's a little bit of an inverse because some following chapters it's gonna get nuts, but it's also one of the funnier books, and you're gonna see that right from the get go.
Mhm.
So I'll give it a 6 out of 9 fingers.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are gonna move on to our next segment, which is Best Meme of the Week. Georgie boy, that's you. Take it away.
So we've got another repeat offender for House of the Meme Maker meme of the week. It's Lick Shots 419. And
Lick shots.
Lick Shots indeed. And this is that stupid monkey puppet, which is apparently from a Japanese 50s kids show. I had to look that up earlier because I was trying to think of a way to describe it. But so it's when someone around you talks about low hanging fruit, and as a first law fan, all he can think of is Baez slapping fruits coming out of the bar.
it's true. Anytime I think of fruits, I always think of that.
It just lives rent free in my brain. Baez's balls. Because it's such a oh my god, it is such a vivid image, isn't it? And it's so unexpected, but that is brilliant. So yeah, thank you very much, Lick Shots 419 for that one.
Thank you, Lick shots. Appreciate it. So thank you for that, Georgie. Now we'll move on to our next chapter read through, which is The Peacemaker. This gentleman is standing by the window, one hand up the stone, looking out into the land that his father built all across Carleon. And 2 score miles of broken country to Black Dow's scattered army, where the fate of the North was being decided without him.
So it's not that far from Carleon then. It's only 40 miles away.
Yeah, not far. And apparently this person says, all I want is just for everyone to do what I tell them. Is that too much to ask? And this person, Seth, slides up next to him, behind him, and goes, I'd say it's no more than good sense on their part. And this person goes, I know what's best anyway, right? And she goes, I do. And I tell you what it is. So, yes. And then he goes, it seems there are a few pig-headed bastards in the North who don't realize we have all the answers. And she tells him, men don't like to come out for peace, but they will. You'll see. And until then, like all visionaries, he finds himself spurned, scorned, and exiled. And then she goes, until then, you find yourself locked in a room with your wife. Is that so bad? He goes, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. And then, she calls him a liar. And she goes, "You're almost as much of a liar as they say you are. You'd rather be out there with your brother, your armor on, hacking heads from, a bunch of Southerners." And this guy goes, "Yeah, murder's my favorite hobby, you know." She says, "You've killed more men than Scarling." And he goes, "I'd wear my armor to bed if I could." And she goes, "But it's
She's like,
only my concern for my soft, soft skin that stops you."
I want
And
to just before you go on.
I like how you're slowly getting more into this, Jeff. You started off
yeah,
kind of rocky, and now you're
yeah.
like,
That's twice now. You guys have interrupted my. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I want to say this is one of my favorite Stephen Pacey voices. Calder has a very, very Welsh accent. It is very, very funny. Just having grown up in Wales, it's just like home, you know. And the way he says some things like, "I'd wear my armor to bed if I could."
It's Calder. It's Calder, folks. All right, Jesus Christ. We're in Calder's point of view now, his perspective. Look at that. We're in this shitbags.
I didn't realize I
Calder.
just done that there. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. Second time you cocksuckers that did this. Harrison, the first one. Now you. All right, I guess you're taking turns. Anyway. And so anyway, Seth, his wife, calls him out. She grabs his nuts, and he goes, I'm more of a lover than a fighter. You got me. And then she goes, "Look, at last the truth. Only look what you've done to me." And apparently she is preggers. And she's out here
Ew.
whispering to him, and she goes, "It's a boy. I feel it. An heir to the north. You'll be king." And then Calder's like, "Shut the fuck up. Shut up."
You can't say that though, can I?
Goes, "I got an older brother, remember? Shut up." And Seth goes, "Yeah, but he's a dumbass, though."
He specifically says Pinhead as well. Which is...
Yeah. She's like, "He's stupid. She'll be you. Come on."
Is this when I first heard this, I had a hard time telling if they were being sarcastic, which I like is kind of the point.
Mhm.
And I like that she's being sarcastic, but like Calder isn't.
Yeah, he's not. And then he says out loud that his father, who is Bethod, let's not forget, had always said that there's nothing more important than family, although Calder notes internally, except power. But there's no point arguing what we don't have because Black Dow's the one who wears my father's chain. Black Dow's the one we need to worry about. And then Seth goes, "Black Dow's nothing but a one-eared thug." And he goes, "Yeah, but a thug with all the North under his boot and the mightiest war chiefs following his say-so. So shut up." And then then we get we get some names here, so I'm just gonna go through it real quick. She goes, "Mighty war chiefs, yeah, right." And he goes, "Broad 10 ways." And she goes, "That maggot." And then he goes, I always forget. I have trouble with his this guy's
Glamour Golden.
No. Cam
Cam.
Cam Ironhead.
Cam Ironhead.
Just say it without thinking about it, and it sounds fine.
There's lots
Cam-
of very hard to
Cam-
pronounce names in this book, isn't there?
Yeah. Because we're going deep into like northern culture, right?
Yeah.
Northern regions and everything. So Cam Ironhead, and she goes, "Tiny dick." and
Damn.
And then he goes, "Glamour Golden," and she goes, "Even tinier."
Like a baby's finger.
And then Steph goes, "And you have allies." "Yeah, I do." She goes, "Yeah, my father likes you." And he goes, "Look, your father doesn't hate me, but he's not gonna cut the rope if they're gonna try to hang me."
Basically, the typical father-in-law.
Yeah. And she goes, "He's an honorable man." And he goes, "Look, of course he is. Carl Ricci," that's this guy's name, her father, "is a real straight edge. Everyone knows it. For what that, but you and I were promised when I was the son of the king of the Northmen, and the world was different. He was getting a prince for his son-in-law, not just a well-known coward." And she goes, "A beautiful coward." And he goes, "Beautiful men are even less liked in the North than cowardly ones." And so he's not sure. He's not sure that her father's happy with the way his luck's turned out. And she doesn't give a shit. She goes, "I wouldn't change a thing." So they're very. You could tell they're in love with each other.
Yeah,
right.
They've got a good rapport.
Well, Seth certainly is in love with him.
No, and Calder loves her too.
I
Calder loves
mean,
her. I would
yes,
say he does.
but
I mean, he's always like, nah. I would say he loves her.
he does, but in his own way, he also is like, you know, he, for example, he even says it here. He even says it in just a bit. He's like, man, he used to think that she was ugly. He didn't like her nose or her mouth, and didn't like the way she talked. But over time, he's fallen in love with her, and now he thinks that she's like the most beautiful woman in the world, almost enough not to cheat on her. I'm not saying that he is not in love with her. I'm saying that yes, he is in love with her, but also he's also still dead.
He's still a scumbag. I think this is really interesting that this is a really good way of just giving us the score of what's going on. Update. It's been a while since we saw Calder. The last time we saw him, he was shooting at Logan.
Yeah, he's a little shit.
But I like how this is it. Like, this is just them having a conversation, and it seems really natural, and it's telling us who the big players are and why they don't like him. Right, and it's just that it's so cleverly done, I think.
Yeah, and yeah, it's cleverly done, and we see that apparently something's gone on where he thinks he's exiled. That's what he says. We'll see that in a minute. But these two are a pretty good tandem so far from what we see, and then she's flattering him at this point, calling him the cleverest man in the North, cleverer than Black Dow, blah blah blah. He's like, "Ooh, go on, I like this," and they're about to get some. They're about to get a raunchy up in here, and then they're fiddling with each other's clothes, and then out of nowhere we hear a banging on the door to their little room, and now they just killed the mood. And there's some more banging, and now they're breaking. They're like, "Fuck it," they have fix their clothes and stuff, and he goes, so much for so much for his dreams of being king. He didn't even command the lock on his own door. And he goes, "The damn bolt's on your side, isn't it?" And so on the other side of the door, the bolt, unlocks and the door opens. And a man is standing in the doorway, almost touching the top of the doorway, right? His head. And the ruined side of his face was turned forwards, a massive scar running from near the corner of his mouth through his eyebrow and across his forehead, the dead metal ball in his blind socket glinting. If any trace of romance had been lingering in the corners or in Calder's trousers, that eye and that scar were its grisly end. He felt, so it's Call Shivers, folks. And Call Shivers was about the worst omen a man could see, because now folks called him Black Dow's dog, but never to his burnt out face. The man, the protector of the North, sent to do his blackest work. So we see that Call Shivers is back in the North. We see that he's working for Black Dow now. He's not, if not Black Dow's right hand man, he's with Black Dow a lot. And we see that Black Dow hasn't styled himself King of the North. He's called himself Protector of the North. We get that already.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And so all Shivers says is "Dow wants you," but he says it in that broken whisper that he got after screaming so much in stereo. Can't remember if it was during not Sapani, during Moselia or
Osprey, wasn't
during. It could be Austria too. Could be Austria, or it could have been during.
It was in Viscerine.
Oh, Viscerine.
I
That's
thought
right.
he lost his voice when after the battle more than.
Yeah, that too.
That's true. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. But he also was. We didn't really get a lot of mention of his gravelly whisper when they were in Fatazarmo, remember? So I think it's like a combination of like all of that, maybe. All right. So maybe I don't know. So anyway, Calder is like, why? Can't he beat the Union without me? And he's trying to be joking, and he's trying to keep like that spirit up, but he's scared. And Shivers didn't even laugh or say anything. He just stood there. And Calder goes, okay. So I suppose everyone serves someone. What about my wife? And Shivers looks at Seth and just looked at her like nothing, like she was just a piece of meat. And he goes, "Dow wants her to stay and stand hostage. Make sure everyone behaves. She'll be safe." And Calder goes, "All right, well, sure, as long as everyone behaves." And Shivers is like, yeah, that's it. And he goes, what if Black Dow misbehaves? Where's my hostage? And Shivers looks at Calder and he goes, I'll be your hostage. And then Calder goes, and if Dow breaks his word, I can kill you, can I? And Shivers goes, you can try.
At least he's
And-
giving him a shot.
Yeah, and Calder's like, fuck, Call Shivers had one of the hardest names in the North. He's like, all right, well, can you give us a moment to say our goodbyes? And Shivers goes, sure, I'm no monster, as he slides back into the shadows like a monster.
Yeah, he slinks back.
And Calder turns to her and he's like, okay, back to the snake pit. She goes, just be patient, tread carefully and everything. And, and she goes, look, seriously, be careful. Dow fears you. Her father had said that he'll take any excuse to kill him. Dow should fear Calder because whatever else that he is, he's, Bethod's son. And then she says, I love you. And he goes, why? He's starting to feel like tears. And he's like, don't you realize what an evil shit I am? And then she goes, you're better than you think. And when she said it, he can almost believe it.
Well,
And he says he loves her too, and he didn't even have to lie. And this is the part where you're talking about, Harrison, where back before they were like betrothed and everything, that he had raged because I don't like how she looks, and she's too quick tongued and all this stuff. And now he loves every part of her.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so
it's always nice when you can love somebody unconditionally, but also still cheat on them. It's always the best.
Where are you saying cheat on? Where are you saying cheat on him?
Because he says he almost loves her enough to swear off other women.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he's cheated.
Jeff, listen, we know you have different criteria than some other people, but I do feel as though
that's just swearing off other women. Good Lord, you guys are tough crowd. Fuck me. Anyway, so they part ways, and Calder catches up with Shivers, and he goes, I guess he's trying to be tough here or something, but he slaps his hand down. He stops, Shivers, and he goes, if anything happens to her, I promise you, right? And he slaps his hand down on Shivers' shoulder, and he was a little unnerved by the wood-like solidity of it. And then Shivers goes, I hear your promises ain't up to much. And he looks at Shivers' Calder's hands, and Calder goes, I'm just gonna take it off right here. And he goes, who says that my promises ain't too much? Black Dow? If there's anyone in the North whose promises are worth less than mine, it's that bastard's. And Shivers doesn't say anything. And then, then Calder doesn't stop, right? He goes, Dow won't ever give you more than you can rip from him with both hands. There'll be nothing for you no matter how loyal you are. In fact, the more loyal you are, the less there'll be, you'll see. There's not enough meat and too many hungry dogs to feed. And this got at Shivers just a bit. His eye narrowed just the slightest, and he says, I'm no dog. Now, somebody else might have just been like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to call you that or whatever. But Calder goes, for him, he goes, oh, this is a sensitive spot right here. So he goes, I see that. And most people don't see past their fear of you, but I see what you are. You're a fighter, but also a thinking man, an ambitious man, and a proud man. And if I had a man like you working for me, I'd make better use of him than what Black Dow has been doing. That much I can promise.
He's literally 5 minutes out the door and he's already scheming.
Not even 5. He's like, what, 30 seconds, I think? Jesus Christ. And then Shivers stops and he raises a hand. He beckons to him. And it gets real closer than Calder's more comfortable with, but he has no choice. He just close enough to like almost kiss, and then Shivers just says, "Dow wants you," and that's the end of that chapter. That's it. So Shivers doesn't give a fuck.
No.
How would you rate that chapter, boys?
This chapter is like obviously establishing Calder and Seth, and oh look, Shivers is back, and that kind of thing. But I mean, it's kind of hard to rate these setup chapters, right? Especially in the beginning, because I don't want to treat it too harshly, because it's not like we've gotten the payoff for it yet. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I don't know. I'm just gonna go ahead and say a 5 out of 9. I mean, it's solid. There's nothing bad about it. I think it conveys all the right information. It does it in a kind of a fun way and updates us on the people we do know. So yeah, and I like the fact that Shivers is seen as the most feared guy in the North. Calder is seen as like some sniveling whiny boy, which is what we saw him last. But they're both somehow still the same people while also being more evolved. So
Yeah.
I think that's cool that we get to see that. So, but I think 5 out of 9 is for me.
I'm going to go with a 5/9 as well. I like the little misdirect in the beginning of the chapter, like he stood on the balcony overlooking Carleon. Like it could be that he's like inherited the throne, or because we don't know. It hasn't been mentioned whether Black Dow is the king or the Lord Protector until this chapter, anyway. So I like that it's then revealed that he's actually a hostage, and Black Dow doesn't trust him at all. I think that's actually quite clever as well.
Mm-hmm.
Joe's writing style is definitely developing as the time goes on, which is great.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll give it a 5 out of 9 as well. So make it a trifecta, baby. Boom, 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 boom.
Yay!
I like that. Like we did learn from like the first chapter that Black Dow's the leader. We did learn that. We didn't know what he was styled
Well, we know
as.
he was leading the army anyway.
Right. Well, yeah, but if you lead the army, you're leading the North. So
That's semantics.
what I like is if you're a first time reader, you didn't know who this was at all.
Yeah.
You didn't know until like a page in or a page and a half in. And then it's like, oh, it's Calder. Oh, okay, interesting. I mean, you could have kind of taken it to be blacked out if you were, but then it's like blacked out was never called a coward or anything like that. So you weren't sure who this could be. And then we get Calder, and yeah, like you had said, Harrison, he's a coward. That's made light of here and everything. But we also, one thing we didn't really see too much of in the original trilogy that we're seeing it here now is that he may be a coward, but he's smart and he's willing to engage in manipulation and what's another word, like diplomatic.
He's not giving up yet. Yeah, he's
diplomatic
still scheming. He's still trying to think of ways around his current predicament.
Right. He's not your typical northerner in that he's very all brawn, no brain, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. That was good. Good, we're off to a good start so far, and I thought a 5 out of 9 is warranted. We'll move on to our next segment, which is our character spot. Boys, who are we shining the spotlight on here?
Our character spot is someone who we won't see for quite a long time, if ever again. Dun dun dun. Is Seth. She is, obviously she's married to Calder, and she obviously understands his strengths, seems to understand his weaknesses. We're not really ever in her head, so we don't know for sure how much she's like playing it up. But why would anybody be with Calder more than other than the fact that they love him, seeing as he is nothing good in his name? The only reason he is even around and relevant is because of her and her father, and because of maybe his dad. So he's living off of everyone else's merits, but she's still with him. And I don't think it's a situation of, oh, I can fix him. I think she loves him for who he is. And I think she genuinely believes, like, yes, he's going to be better for the North, and this is going to work out in the long run. She does believe in him, and that's admirable that she's like with him, But she is maybe instead of encouraging him and everything, she could teach him to be more wise about things. But
She's definitely ambitious, isn't she? She wants him to be the king and take over for Black Dow to the point of talking about it in kind of the open and risking their lives.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me that Calder has probably one of the best relationships in the First Law so far.
Yeah, he does.
He's the least deserving of it. He would never forgive you for falling the weakest. You piece of shit.
Fuck you,
We'll have a
Calder.
friend. I'll never forget.
Never.
What? Well, I mean, Harrison will. Harrison never liked Forley.
That's true. I didn't say he deserved it, though. Jesus. I just said he's not, it's not a huge deal,
Oh, don't worry about it.
How dare you?
No, I like her as a character, and
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. We're here for a very long time now. So
no, yeah, she's a cool character. Like you said, she's earnest in her affection for Calder. She is smart, and we see that she has, besides just being a human, she has value to even Black Dow because she's the daughter of a guy called Call Ricci, who's a war chief. So Dow isn't necessarily just gonna up and out kill her for no reason, right? So
Yeah.
that's good. That's good. So we know she's gonna be okay for the time being, as long as Calder behaves himself. And I guess that's up to it's up for us to see. We have to wait and see. I'm sorry, my brain is just kind of foggy.
It's
still.
okay.
Well, considering he's already conspiring with
Yeah,
that's
considering she's already conspiring, her chances don't look great.
Or, just saying, she does, in respect to Calder. Calder is very clever, and she is with him because she obviously does love him, but she also knows he is her best chance at getting anywhere further. What are you gonna do? Seduce Black Dow? That ain't gonna happen.
I mean, he has no problem with that.
Yeah, but it's not gonna be the same.
Yeah.
One could argue that Seth is the whole reason he even is still pursuing that.
No, maybe. Okay, one could argue. I can see that. Okay.
Because what I mean is, like, Calder is clever, yes, but he is not as clever as he thinks he is. But she is propping him. I think all the way around, he's not as clever as he thinks he is. He is very clever, but not as much. And she is just boosting his ego and be like, yeah, you can do anything. I believe in you, and blah, 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 blah. And she's not giving him ideas. I'm just saying that without Seth, maybe he lacks a certain amount of, I don't know, I guess motivation, or like belief in himself, or I don't know. Maybe not, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes for sure. Let's hope for the best for our poor Seth and her baby boy, her potential future heir of the North, but we shall see. I wonder who that person could be, that baby. Well, I wonder who he'll grow up to be. Anyway. All right, so yeah, thanks for that character spot, boys. That was a good one. We get to highlight a female character right off the bat, and a pregnant one at that. So we'll move on to our final segment, which is the community interaction segment. We're gonna save the chapters for the next episode because the next couple ones are a little bit long. In terms of like what to discuss, how much to discuss, all that stuff. So we normally would have something to talk about on a community interaction segment. Usually, it would be a post on Reddit where we encourage the populace to interact with us. Now, if you have been, by the time this episode has come out, you'll have noticed in the last couple of weeks, except for one brief resurgence for about a day, that we have not necessarily been on Reddit, or maybe you can't even find us. Well,
yes. Well,
so what had happened was,
we've all been blanket banned from Reddit.
Yeah, we got banned somehow. We know now, as actually during the recording, we learned why.
And I'll just admit to it. It's my fault. I'm not going to say what it was. It wasn't. I am appealing, and we're going to try and get this reversed because
it's silly. Ultimately,
it is quite silly. It is easy to get banned from Reddit, but the problem is that we were all logged into the Circle of the World podcast's Reddit account on our phones. So because I got banned, it means that got banned, and Jeffrey and Harrison have also been blanket banned from Reddit.
Yeah, we're talking about like our personal accounts, like
everything.
His personal account got banned, and therefore it affected the podcast account, and then it affected our account. So so George made a little a mistake.
I cannot be trusted on Reddit.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well,
it's just a little whoopsie. There is a certain rule that you can't ask for you can't call for a certain kind of thing, and George that wasn't his intention, but I guess it was interpreted that way, and so he has to appeal and say he's sorry. So we'll let you know how that goes. If that doesn't go well, then we'll just make new accounts or something. I don't know. We'll figure that out.
Try to figure it. The issue is, of course, Jeffrey, is that we can't actually make new accounts. So if we don't save it, then we're gonna basically be stuck out of Reddit forever. Because unless we go through a VPN, and even then they still might catch us doing that. We just would like to try to get it appealed and keep everything moving forward, and we'll all be more careful in the future.
Yeah. Well, so we'll see. It wasn't from anybody like any moderator or anything like that on the First Law or House of the Meme Maker. None of their moderators. It was something
No.
else. It was something else.
Yeah.
So we in the meantime, if you guys want to just primarily contact us via email, Instagram, or Twitter, I am. So we've divvied up some responsibilities a little differently. George will be handling editing, so he is off the social media.
I'm being
we love
banned
you,
from
George.
the internet.
He's going to be handling editing only. Your Lord Chamberlain, shall be engaging with you in the audience chamber. So that's Instagram, that's Twitter, YouTube, email. Go ahead.
And maybe Reddit.
And maybe Reddit. We get that back going. I will be the voice of the podcast to the people. Harrison will.
And once my child takes up less time, I shall create wonders beyond imagination.
Yeah.
But reproducing at my age is quite a feat.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's
So-
good.
Yeah, we're working on that, and if any loyal listeners happen to be up in the upper echelons of Reddit, any support you can lend would be greatly appreciated. Whatever. It just happened. It just happened. So it's
Yeah.
been a couple weeks, and if anybody wants to suggest, like, maybe we could do something with Discord in the meantime as an alternative. But I know there's a First Law Discord already. That's pretty cool. That's pretty fun. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. Yeah, we'll figure it out. But that's going to be our community interaction segment for this episode. That's a great way to kick off the heroes, isn't it, folks? Huh?
Yeah.
That's great. Fantastic. Love it.
We didn't even make it halfway through the series without getting banned.
Oh, all right. Well, that's it, folks. And so we just want to thank you for your continued support. And I just wanted to share that tidbit with you in case you're wondering, like, hey, where are they gone? Hey, what was that weird Reddit account that had that name? Hey, where they gone now? So hopefully we can return. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. As usual, that's our show, everyone. We want to thank you all for your support and listening to this podcast. As you know, this is a passion project for the three of us, and your support really does mean a lot.
Join us next week as we do Best of Us and Black Dow.
And make sure you follow us on all of our social media. That's Twitter, that's Instagram, not Reddit anymore. And we have a website. It's circleoftheworld.com.
And reach out to us at circleoftheworldpodcast@gmail.com. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Please make sure to rate and review, as it helps. Thank you all again for listening.
Dow Wants You.